Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Iris Metals Investor Webinar, ASX ticker IR1. Today we'll present our February 2026 update on securing US critical minerals independence, highlighting our high-grade lithium, rubidium and tungsten projects in the United States. Please feel free to submit your questions via the chat box down the bottom, and we'll aim to answer as many as we can at the end of the presentation. I'll now hand over to our Executive Chairman, Peter Marks, to commence the webinar and to introduce our Iris team. Over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Mel, the introduction, and welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join this webinar. I'd like to introduce my fellow directors and senior staff on the call. We've got Kevin Smith, director based in New York, who's been with us now for 18 months or so, and Matt Harton, President, US Operations, based also in the US in Denver and Custer, who's also been with the company now for about 20 months or so, and a recent addition to the board, Chris Evans, who's based in Perth and brings to the company decades of managerial expertise and experience in the lithium space as managing director of Winsome Resources, now non-exec director of Iris Metals. As you're aware, Iris has recently raised $5.5 million via the issue of new securities at 16.5 cents, with Bell Potter as the lead manager. This will basically go a long way to furthering our development projects in the United States, where we have first mover advantage in the hard rock lithium space, as well as other critical minerals, which have become of paramount importance under the current US administration. I'll hand over to Kevin Smith now to run through some of the high-level aspects of the company's operations, and then invite Matt to comment on some of the technical aspects of the go-forward plans for this current year. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Pleased to present Iris Metals to you and our portfolio of critical minerals projects in the US, which is well positioned to capture market share and the opportunity that exists there. I'm sure you would have seen a number of the headlines recently in the space, including the announcement yesterday of a $12 billion stockpile for critical minerals in the US. So it's a great place to be. We feel like we have some great assets in the right part of the world. In the next slide. On this map here, give you just a brief orientation here. On the left side of the map, in the green, is our South Dakota portfolio. This is primarily where our lithium assets are, and some of the other critical minerals like rubidium and tantalum. Our flagship project is down near the bottom there, the Beecher project. And then we've got a suite of other additional assets nearby, all within about a 15-kilometer radius of Custer, which is where our mine office is in the area. What's important to note about these projects is they were all prior producers, and they were, interestingly, prior suppliers to the Department of Defense back in the Cold War years, when the US was looking to secure its lithium and tantalum, cesium, beryllium, and some other things to defend for defense back in those times. And they're trying to stand up the same sort of supply chains now. We've got this great suite of assets that were mined before, known quantity, and we are bringing them back online here. We have our mine permit in hand for most of these. So we're very near to production, and we're going to talk about our near-term cash flow opportunities here in a moment. Jumping across to the right side of the map to the blue side, it's Montana. This is where our recently added tungsten asset is in the Finley Basin area in central Montana. This is another mining district. There are other tungsten projects in the area. We're about 100 Ks from the El Monte project, which some of you may be aware of, so not so far away. Importantly for our project, which was prior exploration project of Union Carbide, there's a historical resource of almost 1 million tons. And then there's also some high grade assays there, including WO3 grades of about 0.68%, which compares well, not just domestically, but internationally. And then what we really like about this project, and you can see it on the map where the star is there is an existing mill. It's about a 20-minute ride for us. It's a contract mill open to take our ore. We've had conversations there, and we have a path to market there when we can start producing material at our site. So we feel like we have a lot of the pieces we need to be successful here and start bringing product to market soon. Next slide, please. Just a high-level corporate overview here. Market cap currently is hovering around 50 million Australian. The share price has been in the 18 to 20 cent range, with a lot of director-held shares, including myself. I have a significant stake in the business, and the top 20 shareholders holding about 70% of the shares here. And as part of this raise and as part of our efforts going forward, we've announced that we're intending to pursue a dual listing in the US this year to broaden our reach to new shareholders and larger institutional shareholders in the US who like our story, like the assets, want the exposure, but struggle to get involved on the ASX. So we're looking to address that in short order here. And part of my role is based in New York is to engage with these group of investors and get Iris on their radar and on board ultimately as shareholders. Next slide. So this is a list of the critical minerals that we have across our portfolio. Most of you would know us primarily for the lithium, which is what Iris has been focused on for a number of years now. And with the rebound in lithium price, we're well positioned to capture that. And we're going to talk about our plans to have some production and cash flow in lithium in the next few quarters here. In the process of exploring for lithium, we've also found a lot of rubidium, which we had a note out about just before Christmas. We're doing an MRE on that right now. There's currently no MRE, there's no mineral resource for rubidium anywhere in the US. So we will be the first, and we will be very high grades. We'll be globally significant grade. Rubidium is a metal not a lot of people are familiar with, but it's also used extensively in defense industry, primarily in munitions and armaments, and one that the US is almost entirely dependent on China for, and something that they're looking to address. As we move down the list, we have some cesium and tantalum and beryllium in our South Dakota assets that we are looking to quantify here and may get some byproduct credits for in the near term, particularly the tantalum, which is of strong interest, and then the tungsten that's over in Montana. What I'd like to point out here, if you look at the second column, U.S. import reliance for all of these different metals, over 90% of lithium in the U.S. is imported, 100% rubidium, cesium. Tungsten is nearly 100%. I don't think there's been any tungsten production in the U.S. since 2015. Tungsten's hitting new all-time highs right now. There was a great story on mining.com today about tungsten, the tungsten shortage, and why prices are up so high. And we're well positioned to capture that. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand over to Matt briefly to talk about this. This is a high level overview of our flagship Beecher project. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, just to go over our Beecher project, kind of give you the updates here that we've put out over the last few months since we've had the last investor presentation like this. I think the biggest things that we have going on is the rubidium that we've discovered now at the Beecher project. This was something that came about on the back of the results that we saw at Tin Mountain late last year. We went through a data review for the Beecher project, found out that we had some pretty significant intercepts, and are currently putting that together and working towards a mineral resource estimate on that. So we're looking at right now at a JORC resource estimate in probably end of Q1, early Q2 of this year. At that time, we will take the original JORC MRE that was put out last year for the Longview pegmatite at the Beecher project, so one of three pegmatites. We will expand that MRE out to cover all three pegmatites. And then in addition to the lithium, we'll be covering rubidium in that. We're seeing some pretty significant rubidium in both the Longview pegmatite, where it's very widespread, and also in the southern portion of the Black Diamond pegmatite. We think we'll end up with a pretty significant resource at some very nice grades that'll comp nicely against other major, what few there are, major rubidium projects across the world. And definitely in a jurisdiction that one is, for us, easy to advance and get into production, but also much, much lower cost to get into production than some of the other resources that sit out there. Really excited to get that out there and demonstrate really what we have at the Beecher project, because I think it feeds towards a lot of what we've been talking about as far as, at least recently, in terms of potential near-term DSO production from this project. The permits in hand, we did our demonstration mining event about 6 months ago now. And we've been shipping off some material from that, both for process test work and to potential partners, both for potential DSO sales and for downstream processing. Next slide. Toss that back to you, Kevin, here for this.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so based on Beecher and the resources there in the MRE and the mining permit in hand, we have both near-term and longer-term production plans. So, being ready to go right away here has been an advantage for us now with the lithium price recovering. So we're looking at DSO options there, where we can take DSO out of the ground literally today, and we have mined it and stockpiled it at site already. We can start up that program to a steady state production in a matter of a few weeks to capitalize on the near-term opportunity there, while we work on the fuller scale production based on SC6 and a more conventional DMS process. And we are looking to unlock that spodumene and the lithium in it via some partners at Rock Zero, which we've announced in the past. They have some of our ore, and they're going through some processing testing now, trialing it from DSO level, from SC6, with flotation, without flotation. And we will have results there as to recoveries, cost, residency time, yield, and these sorts of things that will allow us to, we hope, have a pathway to near-term production of lithium carbonate in the U.S. based on a traditional SC6 flow sheet. So we have both near-term opportunities, and then the longer-term growth opportunities would scale up, to something around 10,000 tons LCE per year. Both would give us some good cash flow. Next slide. Yeah, in talking more specifically on the DSO opportunity, with the recent rebound in spodumene prices now up to about $2,000 a ton, CIF China, We've gone deep into the money quite quickly here from pre-Christmas to post-Christmas. So this is a picture you can see on the left-hand side of test mining we did last fall out at site, where we did a test mining campaign and produced DSO and bagged it at site. We can crank this program up again quite easily. We are now engaged in conversations with some off-takers to purchase our DSO on a lithium carbonate linked price formula, where Iris would be able to benefit from the current pricing and generate near-term cash flow. We're in the indicative stage of that, looking to confirm some processing steps and ultimately turn that into a binding scenario in short order. Our numbers that we've identified so far are something around 300,000 tons a year of DSO, which could generate upwards of $20 million US a year of free cash flow, and potentially more if the lithium price hangs in there or goes higher. So we're focused on this, and we're focused on the opportunities that near-term cash flow would unlock for us in terms of funding some more of our development plans, our exploration plans, and allow us to move forward, without needing to raise additional capital to take ourselves into a larger scale production scenario. Next slide. Matt, if you want to talk briefly about our portfolio in the Black Hills here.
Sure. So obviously, thank you, Kevin. Beyond our Beecher project, we have several different projects that we've spent a bit of time with in the Black Hills. Kind of focusing on the work over the last, say, 6 months. The Tin Mountain project, we completed a drill program utilizing some more novel drilling technologies to be able to deal with the geometries that we have at surface and underground there. That program went off without a hitch, was very successful. Those results have been published. We are now working towards the MRE. That'll be the maiden MRE for that project. It's being completed in parallel with the Beecher MRE, so we'll have those out roughly at the same time. And the MRE at Tin Mountain will cover both lithium and rubidium. So I think we'll have a very quick buildup in total resources in South Dakota by the time we complete the expanded and updated MRE at Beecher, as well as the maiden MRE at Tin Mountain. And then I'd like to touch on the Ingersoll project. We picked that up late last year. That came out of Rapid Critical Minerals. We could cherry pick that out of their portfolio as they were leaving the district. Excited about this project, not only for the lithium potential, but for the tantalum potential. We've already done some fairly significant mapping and sampling underground at that project. We've noted some fairly robust tantalum exposure within that. And hopefully we'll have some news coming out, in the near term related to some of the sampling work that we've done there. We'll be moving forward with a drill program in April. Probably about mid-April, we'll be starting that program with the goal of testing multiple pegmatites on that property, and hopefully moving that through a fairly lengthy drill program to try to move it towards a mineral resource before the end of the year. So we're quickly growing this. If you look back this time last year, shortly after this time last year, we were sitting with one MRE over one pegmatite. By the time we get to this point next year, we could have an MRE over as many of 8 or 9 pegmatites. So looking at some pretty significant growth from a mineral resource perspective there. Next slide. Rubidium, we've now talked about Beecher at Tin Mountain. Rubidium is one of those things that's not well known, has a little bit of an opaque market, but does have a published price to it. Right now, if you're looking at rubidium carbonate, I believe it's in the $1,200 to $1,500 a kg range. So very valuable product at the grades we're looking at. That's a very significant value in the in-place rock that we have on our projects. And I think the two things that really drive the interest for the United States. One, there is no resources for rubidium in the United States. We would be the first mineral resource for rubidium here. And all production of rubidium, anything of recent of the last few years, is based off lepidolite byproduct production in China. From my understanding, that sits in stockpiles over there. They produce it as necessary out of lepidolite, but those stockpiles are dwindling. There's additional sources that need to be defined and brought to market in the near term, and bringing those in the Western world, I think is really going to help draw some attention to our projects as we move forward. Next slide. Finley Basin Tungsten Project. This came about late last year. We are finalizing the earn-in agreement on that. Hopefully, I have that done in the next week or two. To give a little context, I think the management of Iris, we kind of identified probably mid last year that we were interested in obtaining a little bit of jurisdictional and commodity diversification. We were becoming more of a critical mineral story as opposed to solely a lithium. Tungsten was something that fits very high within the United States critical minerals list. If you look at that list, the very top of it is rare earth elements. Right below that is tungsten. As Kevin noted earlier, there has not been any tungsten production in the U.S. It's something that is highly desirable, and there's a lot of investment going towards that right now. The Finley Basin project caught our eye because of a few factors. One is the historical estimate that was previously given, just shy of 1 million tons at 0.68. That grade at 0.68, globally significant. It compares very favorably against some of the highest grade tungsten projects around the world. The processing capacity that is local to the project, with the contract mill in Phillipsburg that is permitted and operational today. And I think beyond that, fully cognizant that the historical resource is not that large, there is significant ability to further expand that resource. The Union Carbide drilling that resource was based on was 10 drill holes. Union Carbide came across some other business challenges at that time in India in the early 80s. This got put on the back burner and hadn't been touched since. So we think there's significant opportunity to further grow that resource. And then along with the project, it's coming with some airborne geophysical data that identifies some additional skarn or potential skarn mineralization on trend on the limestone on the contact between the limestone and the granitic intrusives, that we will look to test as we move this project forward. So I think, we've got an initial year one drill program in planned. We're working on the permits right now. Had a meeting with the Forest Service yesterday. That's moving along at a pace that's going to allow us to drill this summer on this project. And then, as we prove out that Union Carbide resource, bring that in the JORC compliance, and then we will move quickly to expand upon that, both on the immediate area around that deposit and then on strike to further grow that. So we see a lot of potential there, a lot of growth, and we think it's a very unique tungsten project here in the United States. Next slide. And then I won't touch too much on tungsten. I think it's been hit pretty hard in current commodities discussions, but is definitely garnering a lot of attention. As Kevin noted earlier, it is at all-time pricing highs right now. Next slide. Kevin, I'll let you go here.
Thank you. Yeah, so turning to the U.S. government, where we are here and the government support, I'm sure this crowd is aware of the news headlines that have been coming out quite regularly about support for critical minerals projects in the U.S. programs to finance it. And we've spent some good time in Washington having good conversations with different government entities, particularly the Department of War and the Office of Strategic Capital, who is keenly interested in some of our production here. And we're working to firm up those proposals and get something to a binding state where we can bring that support into us. And the key to unlocking that is for us is getting a connection into the downstream. So we have a mine to market based solution entirely in the U.S., which is what we're focused on. My experience in the critical mineral space has been about connecting the supply chains to take raw ore, beneficiate it, and deliver it through the downstream to industrial customers. And we're looking to do that here in short order. And that will be the key to unlocking funding, support, and likely offtake here from Department of War, and then also from the stockpile that you would have seen announced yesterday. Next slide. This is an overview of the timelines that we were some of the key items that we spoke about. I'd point to the MREs here that are in green. You can see we're targeting by the end of Q1 to have 3 new MREs out that will substantially increase our resource base and in the in situ value that we have in the ground there. We'll be getting on the ground at Ingersoll as soon as the snow goes out in April. We have studies going on now for the downstream processing for lithium and rubidium to get the LCE freed up there and also get the rubidium processed. And down near the bottom of that, you can see the last item. I'd point to the DSO mining operations. We have those kicking in around mid-year, which we think is a very realistic timeline for us and gives us, 6 months of cash flow this year alone on that. So we have a good news flow coming, and we expect to also have some additional news flow around tungsten here. And we think there's probably some other tungsten in the area where our project is that we can add on to what we've got there and increase our exposure to tungsten. So I'd say watch this space on that news. And next slide, please. A summary slide here. Just going to pass over to Chris. Chris, are you with us?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. I think this sort of summarizes the investment case for Iris, and it's really the reasons that attracted me to join the company last December. I like the fact that it's not only lithium, which I'm personally comfortable with, and of course, we currently represent the only fully permitted hard rock lithium resource in the US. But in addition to that, there's tungsten and rubidium to add to the critical minerals suite of within our project portfolio. And of course, we're entirely focused in the US, and I very much like that. As Kevin talked about, there's huge amounts of potential funding pools available ranging from the Department of Environment, Department of War, into the new critical minerals $12 billion stockpile that Trump recently announced. There's also many opportunities to capitalize upon the lithium resource that we have and resources that we will soon have. We've got the potential for short-term DSO to generate cash flow. And then we're also got test work underway to really connect that supply chain within the US to go all the way from in the ground into battery-grade material, which has already been produced. I like the fact that we're planning on listing in the US, given our US focus soon, which will open us up to more markets and clear our pathway to approvals. And also the fact that excuse me, we've already got partnerships in place for not only the processing, but also the work that the team has done over the last 6 or so months since our resources have been coming online. And then there's the short-term catalysts. As Kevin said, we've got an upgrade to Beecher lithium resource. We've got a rubidium resource coming out by the end of this quarter. And then we've got Tin Mountain resource as well. So I think that summarizes the investment case for Iris. That concludes the presentation, and I'll hand over to Mel for any questions that have come in. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. We do have a few questions coming in. I'm going to start with Matt. The rubidium into the mix. This is new, and a resource is on the horizon pretty soon, which seems ambitious. Is the timing doable, and is there an exploration target for this MRE?
Yes, there from a doability, if that's a word, from that perspective, it's very doable. We engaged with SRK out of Denver starting actually in November of last year to advance the Tin Mountain MRE. They've already started work on the Beecher MRE, getting that updated and bringing that forward. I have full confidence that work will be completed on time, and we will both have an expanded lithium MRE and the rubidium MREs as well. I think although it seems quick from bringing that on, This is work that's, we've lined up and had the plan going forward with for many, many months now, and have full confidence in my team to execute that.
In terms of the Finley Basin tungsten project, which is also new and there's still some things to be finalised, how far off is the heads of agreement to being finalised? What are the key terms to ensure this is exercised, the right and farm, the right to farm in?
Yeah, I think we've announced the basics of the key terms in previous announcements. It's a fairly I would say low hurdle for us to cross from a spend. The majority of the cost to Iris is all put into the ground in terms of the earn-in. There's just limited cash and shares required up front with that. We will probably actually cross the total threshold for 100% earn-in very quickly. So it'll just be a matter of getting the MRE put through and brought up to JORC compliance. From a scheduling standpoint, it's definitely drawn out a little bit farther than I would have liked, but we have a nearly complete draft that all parties have been in review of, and I would anticipate that probably wraps up within the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Matt. Regarding the hub and spoke model that Iris is speaking about, how will the central processing hub integrate feeds from Beecher and the other satellite deposits to achieve the growth?
Yeah, sure. I think, hub and spoke is not particularly a new idea, especially in mineral processing and mining projects that have numerous smaller deposits feeding a larger production center. We've been putting together a plan to be able to mine these numerous deposits in the Black Hills, bring them to the central processing facility. We think it is a advantageous method to operate within the community of the Black Hills. There is some tourism, there's some other things in the Black Hills, but it gives us the flexibility to operate within the community and maintain our social license within the Black Hills and be a good operator within there. So not only from a technical perspective, but also from kind of an ESG perspective, the hub and spoke model is something that we think fits our deposits and it fits the community we work in.
Kevin, I've got a question directed to you. With the DSO, if Iris is ready, can you please explain the main hurdles that remain or decisions to start to realise this short-term cash flow?
Sure. What we're doing now is just verifying via our potential offtake partner that the DSO performs and is able to be successfully converted into lithium carbonate, and just making sure it all performs as expected here, and that the converter gets yield and performance and that they expect to. So all the boxes are checked there, and then we'll be able to have a firm proposal to execute on there. So we've shared samples and certificates of analysis there, but it's just the physical process of going through a batch conversion of that to make sure you can get the LC out the other end on spec, the right cost as everyone expects it to perform, and the low iron and that sort of thing. And once that's all confirmed, then I think all the pieces will fall into place. The offtake will become a binding scenario, and we can start mining straight away.
And it's probably worth mentioning in terms of that presentation, if anyone wants to refer to, is it maybe slide 13? I'm gonna take a guess of the timeline for all of the milestones that we're looking to achieve. So probably Matt. So there's a lot of excitement around the Beecher project, the new tungsten project, Tin Mountain. In terms of Edison and Ingersoll, how exciting are these projects and how do they complement the other ones that we've spoken more about?
Yeah, so I think why we have a lot of news and a lot of discussion around some of those other projects. Ingersoll, we went out and acquired that for a reason. There's 5 pegmatites there. They've been scratched at the surface. It did have some historical production. Nobody's actually drilled the actual core of those zone pegmatites before, so we're very interested to get in there and drill that. I think us putting forth the work as we have all these other things going on to make sure that we get that drilled early this year, starting in April. Just kind of demonstrates how important Ingersoll is to us. Also, I think there's real potential there with tantalum. We're seeing a lot more of it in those pegmatites than we're seeing it across really any place else in the Black Hills right now. So I think it's still very, very pertinent to the story. In terms of Edison, we did complete a phase 1 drill program there last year. Really helped us refine the geologic model. It's a little bit more complex, but it is, historically it was the highest grade system, if you will, in the Black Hills. We've equaled or gone above that with some of our other projects now, but Edison still is very important to our story. And why we haven't committed to it fully, I think there's potential that we come back and do a phase 2 drill program later this year in 2026 to help us perhaps build out a resource on that one this year as well. Just not committing absolutely to that, knowing that we have a lot going on right now.
Probably one last question because the time is getting on. And I'll ask Kevin. Maybe it might be a Kevin or Matt. Can you elaborate on the integration in terms of the partnership with Rock Zero to advance the US lithium processing? What does a strategy look like for the processing of, say, rubidium and the tungsten? And is that being worked through yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are working on downstream process solutions for both of those metals, rubidium and tungsten right now. We're seeing what's possible to do on the rubidium front via Rock Zero, and that pathway as the rubidium would come out in our ore. If we send it all to them in one go, can they capture that and separate it? And are we able to, get a commercial quality on spec product there? So that testing is going on right now to see if that pathway is valid or not. On the tungsten, I think we know what that looks like because there's a mine nearby. So it's a matter of just getting the permits to get the mining going, and then we can bring our material to the mill down the road and run it through there and have finished WO3 ready to go to the market.
Yeah, I would just add to that we have already been in discussions with that contract mill. That's a privately owned mill. It's owned by a family who's been a long time operator here in Montana. They are excited to have us in the neighborhood. They are excited that we are so nearby. They are more than capable of taking our ore and really helping us get it integrated into the community here in Montana, where I'm actually today. So really excited, not just with the project, but also the local infrastructure that's available to us here in Montana.
Thanks, Matt. So we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, Kevin, Peter, Matt, Chris, for presenting today. There is a lot going on. It is exciting. Congratulations on the successful raise yesterday. I'll pass back to Peter just to wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks, Mel, and special thanks to Kevin and Matt for giving us a terrific overview of what's happening. As you can hear from the presentation, there's a tremendous amount actually happening on the ground and behind the scenes, and a huge amount of progress in the last 6 to 12 months. And I think, as you've heard, given the broadening of the portfolio, particularly with the addition of the rubidium and then the tungsten project, really sets us up for a very active year, and one which I think will hopefully lead to a lot of value creation for our shareholders. And in that regard, I'd like to thank all of you, for continuing the journey with us, for supporting us through it's been, the ups and downs of the cycles that we obviously have to weather. I think with lithium having some, the green shoots appear, it's been a breath of fresh air, and with other, US critical minerals also reaching sort of all-time high prices, we're set for a very interesting and hopefully productive and profitable 12 months ahead. So thanks to everybody for taking the time to listen in, and stay tuned. Thanks, Mel. Back to you.